Hello and welcome back to Break Panel Sports. I've got some more college football. I know last time I talked about some Texas, Alabama. Got two teams to talk about. One of them is the Alabama Crimson Tide because they have a very interesting situation going on. We also got obviously everybody's favorite team right now. Colorado, Coach Prime, Travis Hunter, who's out about 3 weeks, Shador Sanders, that whole squad, Shiloh Sanders. We got a lot to break down. And obviously, you've got to start with the hot commodity. You've got to start with the team that everybody wants to be a part of, the team that everybody is going out and talking about these days. It's the number 19 Colorado Buffaloes, right? It's a team that their win total was 3.5 before the year on some books. Nobody really expected this team to go anywhere. Yes, you had Coach Prime. Yes, you had Shador Sanders. Yes, you got one of the best players in the country, arguably the best player in the country in Travis Hunter, but everybody pointed at the defense. Everybody pointed at really the offensive line as well that needed some work. And yes, you had Travis Hunter, but who else was going to step up? And I mean, this team has had players step up. This has been a very interesting story. Week one, they take down TCU 45-42 in an absolute thriller. They take down Nebraska at home. And then you just had a couple nights ago on Saturday night, September 16th, an overtime win against Colorado State. And I mean, I think that overtime win gave them even more buzz rather than just winning by 25 plus, because everybody expected this Colorado team to win by 25. 22, 24, whoever you ask, right? This was not supposed to be a close game. Obviously, in-state rivalries are in-state rivalries. We all know that. But now Colorado is 3-0 against Colorado State here as well. They got to win. It is interesting to me, right? Because you have the situation with Coach Prime. You have the situation with Shador Sanders. You have the situation with Travis Hunter where they are the story in college football. It's not Texas doing what they've done, getting back into the top five. It's not Florida State sitting at 4. It's not Clemson and their fall off. It's not Michigan and how they've been consistent. It's not how South Carolina almost took down Georgia. It's all about a Colorado team that is shocking the world right now. We really don't know how far they can go. We don't know where they are. But here's my thing with Colorado, right? If you asked, I don't know about a casual college football fan, but just any casual sports fan, you would say, who are the top 5 teams in college football right now? A lot of people would probably think Colorado is up there with the way that Coach Prime and the Sanders and Travis Hunter have been popularized, because this team, yeah, they're good. Yeah, they're a top 25 team. They deserve to be in that top 25, but they are giving a lot of talk as if they are this top 5 team, as if they are Texas. And Texas is talking. I mean, everybody in college football talks. I love it. I love when teams talk their smack. I love when teams talk big, because a lot of the time, I mean, Georgia talked and they won a national championship. But when teams talk, especially like this, when you go on the road and they've got to go to Eugene and play Oregon, I believe that game is not in Boulder, Colorado. Yes, it's in Eugene. It's at Oregon. That's their next game, and they'll be without Travis Hunter. And I'm sure the story is going to be, but what if they could have won this game without Travis Hunter, depending on what the score line is. They're probably going to get beat by a lot against Oregon, especially without Travis Hunter, even with Travis Hunter. I think that this Colorado team, I think they're good. I think they're a quality opponent, but I haven't seen them play a good team yet. Yes, TCU is solid. Yes, that was a tough game. They went on the road. It was a tough game, but that's not TCU. And by that, I mean, that's not the TCU team you saw last year that could have won a national championship if they, maybe kept the score a little closer, not 65-7. A team that beat Michigan. It's not that TCU team. They're missing a lot of pieces. They had so many people leave. That TCU team is just back to regular old TCU, which isn't a tough team to beat. Okay. Yes. Again, they just came off a national championship berth. We all know that. But Colorado, okay, they barely won that game. The defense looked like Swiss cheese, as they do in the Big 12, as they're going to enter the Big 12 in their final year of the Pac-12, was the final year of the Pac-12 just at all. So then it came down to, okay, next week, right? They come home, come back to Boulder. Boulder is this magical place. I've been there. I've been to Colorado, at the campus of Colorado for basketball. Didn't get to see the football stadium. Probably maybe should have tried to get in there. I was only there for a day. But that place has a great energy about it. Boulder is a great city. Colorado's great. I mean, you just look everywhere. You can see the mountains from anywhere. It's great. They came back. The magic of Colorado was back. It wasn't this program that seemed to never be able to come back. And it shows that big name programs can basically come back whenever they want to if they get the right head coach in town. And Coach Prime has done exactly that. He has brought a brand new energy to Colorado. He's brought it, but it's not brand new at the same time. This team's been waiting and waiting and waiting. This program's been waiting for the return of great football over there in Boulder for a very long time now. And it's back. It's not top 5. It's not national championship contending football, but it's football. It's football that's worth watching. And that's exactly where they are. But they beat Nebraska. Okay, Nebraska is kind of Colorado, Nebraska. It's great that that's a rivalry, right? Because they have been kind of in similar situations and Colorado's returned quicker. You would think with Matt Rule coming to town, Nebraska would be a little bit better. They're not. They won't be back for a while. But Nebraska, they got a lot of work to do. Ton of work to do. Colorado, even last year's Colorado team probably could have beat this Nebraska team, right? So okay, they handle their business, right? A lot of teams that you doubt can't handle their business. Colorado handled their business, but that Colorado State game concerned me. Late night, Pac-12 after dark, in the final year of Pac-12 teams playing that late at night. It'll be Big 10 teams soon. It'll be Big 12 teams soon. But Colorado State's not good. Let's just be frank about it, right? They showed a lot. They've got some good talent on that squad. It's one of the better Colorado State teams we've seen in a while, but it's not a Power 5 school. It's out of conference. It's not USC. It's not Oregon. It's not UCLA. It's not Oregon State. This was Colorado State, right? So if this team is going to put the expectations of itself that they can go out and beat anybody, which you should have that mentality, Colorado State went and did it too. And you got the whole thing with the sunglasses and Norvell and all that. No. Coach Prime can wear his sunglasses. Travis Hunter can wear his sunglasses. Shedeur Sanders can wear his sunglasses. And if they want to go out there and wear sunglasses and keep their hats on, they can do whatever they want. They can wear it backwards. They can wear it forwards. They could not wear a hat. They could wear a visor. It doesn't matter. His program is his program. Your program is your program. How you were grown up to wear your hat wherever is how you were grown up, right? It was a really just dumb discussion. It was a dumb thing to start beef over with coaches. It should have been, who's the real team in Colorado? Maybe. Okay, this is the first time. Norvell could have went so many ways to make it personal, and I think it worked for Colorado State because it showed that they also can beat anybody. They can go into Boulder and compete. And Colorado State. I mean, I guess credit to Norvell for keeping these boys fired up, keeping these guys going. Colorado showed up though, and they found a way to get it done. But the game concerns me a lot because you got to look at the rest of their schedule. And this Colorado team has expectations beyond anything you could probably imagine. I mean, this is, again, hottest team in college football. But let's take a look at their next few games. It's going to be tough. So they've got on the road against Oregon. I mean, does anybody think that Colorado is going to win that game? Like, let's be realistic. You might bet on it for fun, but if I said your life was on the line and you got to pick who's going to win this football game in Eugene, Oregon, Oregon's got the win. Oregon's going to win this game by a great margin, especially without Travis Hunter. Even with Travis Hunter, I said this. Oregon has a ton of talent. It's kind of getting to that point where teams know who they are now. This is a top 10 Oregon team. Yes, they had their struggles against Texas Tech, but this is still Oregon football. They're not the Oregon teams of old, but they're still going to be great. So I've got Oregon winning that game by probably 20. I don't think Colorado's going to compete, especially, again, losing Travis Hunter for 3 weeks is such a morality loss that I just don't see them competing with USC either. They're going to lose that game, so that'll put them down to 3-2 on the year. They get a little bit of an easier stretch. They play Arizona State and Stanford. Stanford just lost to an FCS school. So, okay. Arizona State, I see them beating, obviously, weaker team in the Pac-12, so they'll get to 5 wins there. You've got UCLA, loss, Oregon State, loss, Arizona, the win. That gets them to 6 wins. They're going to make a bowl game this year. Okay, congratulations. You won 6 games. Then they go on the road to Washington State. That's going to be a great game, especially with Travis Hunter probably back for a few games, depending on what his health looks like, though. The Oregon State game, I guess we can't, and UCLA especially, we can't really just say, oh, they're not going to win those games. I just don't see it. I don't see it defensively with Colorado. They still need to develop talent on that side of the ball before they can really get things going. Then on the road against Utah, they're not winning that game either. So that puts Colorado as a 6-win football team, and that's the story of the year. 6-win football team is the story of the year. Obviously, it's a great story. It's great for the game of college football. But, is this their ceiling? No. They're going to bring a lot of guys in from Florida. They're going to bring a lot of guys in from Texas that they didn't get before. Deion Sanders has pipelines now. If Sanders is able to stay there for a decade, you will see Colorado compete. But this is going to give them so much momentum heading into the next 5 years, for even next year, as they move to the Big 12. And that's going to be a whole different story of how they're able to compete. But right now, Colorado is a 6-win football team probably for the rest of the year. They can win 7, they can win 8. I don't see them winning more than that. But they're going to win 6 games. They're going to make a bowl game, and maybe they'll shock somebody in their bowl game. Maybe they'll get a good draw. Maybe they'll play Alabama. Who knows, depending on how Alabama goes. That'll be a fun game because with the way Alabama's been playing, Colorado might win that football game, depending on where the rest of the season goes for the Crimson Tide. And moving over to Alabama and the Crimson Tide, I mean, they have just made a quarterback decision, and they made one last week, and they had to make one during the game. This Alabama Crimson Tide squad. Oh, my goodness. You've got, they started Buckner. That didn't work out. You start Simpson. That also didn't work out. Simpson went 6 for 10. Okay, whatever. Didn't throw a touchdown. 60% completion percentage right there. Buckner didn't show anything. 8 for 19, 42% completion percentage. So let's just backtrack a little bit. Jalen Milroe, you lose the game against Texas. He threw a few bad interceptions, showed some talent, showed some great throws, but it wasn't enough to get the win. It wasn't enough to propel this team against Texas. And then Coach Saban says, okay, I've got to do something at quarterback. I've got to make a change. I'm going to take my young quarterback. I'm going to bench him against South Florida because Alabama can win this South Florida game with anybody at quarterback, right? You can hand off the ball as much as you want. But South Florida showed something. It was a 17-3 win for Alabama. South Florida was in the game for a while. Just defensively, you're not really going to compete with Alabama as USF. Now, if Alabama played that game against most other Power 5 teams, Alabama's a 1-2 football team, guys. That was not winning football what Alabama played on Saturday against USF. Yes, tough environment, whatever. Alabama, based on what we saw, they've never been a quarterback-dependent program, right? They've been able to have rough quarterback play and still beat a team like USF by 30. They still be able to beat teams into the ground with Alabama. They've been able to run the ball. They've been able to be physical. They've been able to create turnovers, a great field position defensively. And again, Alabama, you held them to 17 points. You held them to 3 points, but they held you to 17. And with how Alabama has been operating over the past decade plus, 20 years with Nick Saban, I mean, this should not happen, especially at this point. This team was Bryce Young, you just came off 2 great quarterbacks and 2 Jalen Hurts, 3 Bryce Young, and then Jalen Milroe was kind of supposed to step into that role, and you couldn't do it. He has been able to get it done, but I still think he's got a ton of talent. He's a physical runner. He's not Jalen Hurts in terms of his ability to create and throw the football. His accuracy still needs work, but this guy's got a great deep ball. He's got great deep ball accuracy. He's got, all the tools to get it done at this level of college football. Maybe he shouldn't have been at Alabama. Maybe they should kind of focus on using that physicality he has more. But Jalen Milroe is now going to get back to being the quarterback as they play Ole Miss, which is going to be a very tough game for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And we got to go through their schedule at some point. I'm going to try to pull it up as quickly as I can here. But the thing about Jalen Milroe, think about young quarterbacks at Alabama. I feel like what Nick Saban was more trying to do was to show Jalen Milroe that this role is not just, oh, you have it. Oh, you're the starting quarterback at Alabama. You play like crap. You just keep your job and we just keep rocking with you. That's not Alabama. That's not Nick Saban. That's not how we go. So, yeah, USF 17-3 with those backup quarterbacks. Not going to get it done. They need more time in the system. Now, before we revisit Jalen Milroe, let's just look at what Alabama has left, right? Because they were 2-1 football team. They beat Middle Tennessee and they beat in South Florida barely. They lost to Texas, and that's why Texas is the number 3 team in the nation right now, because they went into Tuscaloosa. They got embarrassed in Tuscaloosa. And I think the last time we did this, I said that Alabama was going to dominate against South Florida, and I was wrong. I think at that point, Jalen Milroe was still going to be the quarterback as well. They didn't make that decision. But, I mean, this is the SEC. They've got to go out against the SEC and win. And now that loss, or that loss against Texas doesn't affect their conference standings. Now we're going to get into conference play, the SEC. They've got to try to make the conference championship game over there on that west side, but LSU looks like the front runners for sure. So they've got to play Ole Miss at home in Tuscaloosa, a place that they haven't defended yet. Okay, they haven't defended their place. They haven't gone out and done it, right? Brian Denny is going to need to be loud. They're going to need to show up, these fans. Ole Miss looks good. They took down Tulane. It's going to be a tough battle. And for Jalen Milroe, who I was surprised a little bit that he didn't see action after you got poor quarterback performances. He didn't see any action against South Florida. Nick Saban didn't go, you learned your lesson, okay, get back in there. No. Now Jalen Milroe is back in there. Again, I think he's a very solid player. He can stand in the pocket, he can take hits, and he can save a lot of plays. But is he good enough to beat Ole Miss right now? Is he good enough to even go into College Station to beat a interesting Texas A&M team? Is he good enough to beat Joe Milton in Tennessee? Is he good enough to beat Jaden Daniels and LSU? Is he good enough to go into Jordan-Hare and beat Auburn right now? I don't know. I really don't know. I think Ole Miss has a great shot to win this game. If there's a year for some of these schools to kind of get their get back against Alabama for the past decade plus, it's this year, right? They've got a lot of really rough games in the SEC, a lot of tough road matchups. Let's go through it. Ole Miss, we've been talking about this one. I think Alabama's going to find a way to win this game. I think Jalen Milroe is going to prove something here. I don't think he's going to prove a ton. I don't think he's going to step up and be Bryce Young. I don't think he's going to step up and be a great quarterback, but he's going to be good enough to win. He's going to be good enough to win this game at home. I mean, he has to, right? We'll see. It's going to be a nice 3:30 matchup. I mean, this Saturday is awesome. You've got a lot of ranked matchups, a lot of great matchups. I mean, the landscape of college football is going to change on Saturday, so definitely make sure to lock in. But on the road against Mississippi State, I don't think they'll have a problem. At Texas A&M, I mean, they've had issues there the past couple of years with great quarterbacks. Let's see what Jalen Milroe could do. And we're going to get into why this is happening for Alabama in just a bit. They got Arkansas at home. I don't think that's going to be a problem. KJ Jefferson, I mean, they lose quarterback battles here all the time. They don't win the quarterback battle, in terms of who has a better quarterback, really that much all year. At home against Tennessee, based on what we saw against Florida, I don't think Tennessee's got much in the tank right now. When it comes to beating Alabama, you give Joe Milton a shot. You give a great quarterback like that a chance. Say, hey, we've had a rough year, but you want to beat Alabama again back-to-back? That would be wild. Jaden Daniels and LSU, I mean, they go on the road again. I think Alabama's going to get blown out of the water in that game by LSU. They had a slow start offensively, but I think that they got a great shot, especially by that point in the year. I mean, we'll know who Jalen Milroe is. He might not even be the quarterback at that point, depending on how he plays. And they've got on the road against Kentucky, should be fine. Chattanooga, obviously, but again, South Florida happened, so we don't know. I mean, you give a good team a chance. All it takes is one big play. All it took was one big play for South Florida, and they were in that game. And then on the road against Auburn, the Iron Bowl is always the Iron Bowl. So they're going to lose to Tennessee. They're going to lose to LSU, I think. And then again, I had them as a 3-loss team, but if they lose this, they could be anywhere from a 2-loss team this year to a 5-loss team to even a 6-loss team. I mean, I think they're going to. Is there a path where Alabama doesn't make a bowl game just to kind of go through it? Let's say they lose to Ole Miss, right? They have 2 wins already. Okay, they'll be Mississippi State. That's 3. A&M, that's going to be tough. They could lose that game, but we'll give them that one. That's 4. Arkansas, 5. Tennessee, LSU, lost. Chattanooga will be 6 at that point, and Kentucky could be 7. I mean, but the fact that it's possible that this could be an 8-win Alabama team, this could be a 7-win Alabama team, I don't think so. They'll find a way to win enough games to only have 3 losses or 2 losses or 4 losses. I think 4 losses is the most you'll see from Alabama. It's probably going to be 3. It's probably just going to be Tennessee and LSU, and that's it. And they'll find a way to stay ranked and stay great. But there's a few. It's going to be close. It's not. I don't think they're going to blow out Ole Miss on Saturday. But here's the problem when it comes to Alabama. Obviously, we mentioned the quarterback. And defensively, they look fine. They didn't look phenomenal against Texas, but that Texas offense is amazing. Alabama doesn't have the skill positions. They don't have it this year. They don't have that star receiver. They've had some of the best receiving rooms that we've seen ever over the past decade. They don't have anything close right now, unless if one of these guys wants to step up. I mean, McClellan was supposed to be a great running back as well, but he doesn't. He looks good, but he doesn't look elite. This isn't the Alabama that was recruiting Derrick Henry. This isn't the Alabama that was recruiting, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, John Mechie in that room. I mean, Jameson Williams in that room. They aren't recruiting that anymore. And I mentioned the NIL stuff. I've talked about it. Realistically, a guy like Travis Hunter of that talent should not be going to Colorado, but sometimes coaching matters too. And some people want to play for Coach Prime. And that's going to take away from Alabama's recruiting. So you've got guys who can go get NIL money, who can go play for a coach they want to play for. I mean, Nick Saban is Nick Saban, but he's getting older. Everybody knows that this is the back nine of Alabama. Even if you're a recruit, you know that, hey, who's up and coming? That's where you want to go. You want to go where it's up and coming. And Alabama isn't really if you're the starting quarterback of Alabama, you've gone to the NFL, but it's not like you become a superstar, right? You become a very talented and known player, but that's because you go to the NFL and do it. Jalen Hurts was popular, but that's because he was winning. Some school like Colorado, right? Shedeur Sanders is going to make a ton of NIL money. Obviously his name, obviously the winning works, but because of the notoriety that the program gets, he's going to make a ton more money and get a ton more recognition than if he went to Alabama because he's playing for his father. Now, with Alabama, how many more games will they win with Shedeur Sanders? They probably beat Texas. They might find a way. But Sanders is getting just as much as he would get. He might even be getting more at Colorado than he'd be getting at Alabama. So Alabama's losing a lot of battles on the recruiting front. And there's not really a path to get them there unless if Nick Saban wants to maybe change his philosophy soon. But at this point, he's almost out of here. Nick Saban could be nearing retirement soon. I mean, he's going to get paid. But he's almost done. Alabama's almost done. The dynasty's almost over. Who's next? We're going to find out over the next couple of years. Could it be Texas and the SEC? Could it continue to be Georgia, LSU, Tennessee staying around, Michigan even, Ohio State? I mean, one of these schools is going to be the next Alabama. Right now it's Georgia. But Nick Saban and Alabama, if they don't get this figured out soon, they don't find a way to win out or to only lose 2 games, they're going to miss another college football playoff. And they're not going to win another national championship. So, I mean, this is a national championship team. Alabama's always a national championship team. Even last year, they almost got in. Now nobody's even talking about Alabama and national championship in the same sentence. People are talking about Texas, Michigan. If Nick Saban, I mean, he doesn't have to do anything for his legacy anymore. But Jalen Milroe, all these guys, McClellan, do they want to add to the legacy of Alabama? Or do they want to be the team that really ended the dynasty? They've got to figure it out. Will they figure it out? Who knows? But that'll do it for this episode of Break Panel Sports. I've been John, not joined alongside Joel this time. Schedules are schedules. We'll figure it out one of these days. But Colorado, we'll see what they do. Alabama, they've got to figure something out now, immediately. But again, that'll do it for this episode of Break Panel Sports. I'm John. Probably check in with you next week. We'll see you another time.